Am
are
I
live now.
centered? Am I centered?
All right, everyone. Welcome to this first edition of PAX Live. We're going to be hosting these in the next couple of weeks. We want to do this a weekly series. This is the first edition. I'm waiting for Facebook to send out the notifications to everyone to turn up. I'm going to, while we wait to start this conversation, I'm simply going to activate my comment feed here. Whoa, I'm seeing a lot of already comments and questions. Yeah, we're sorry. We ran into a couple of technical glitches, but everything is sorted out. We'll be starting shortly. We're just waiting for Facebook to send out the notifications so that you join us. Get your questions ready. And I see people are slowly but surely joining. All right, good stuff. And before I go over to Ming, let me see here. Is this working? Yes, it is. No, it isn't. All right, I'm going to go back to this screen and I'm going to go to this one here. Okay. And then I'm going to bring in Ming. Okie dokie. Ming, are you there?
Hi. Yes, I am.
Okay, hey, we ran into a couple of glitches with Skype here this morning, so we're sorry, folks, for running a little bit late. So my name is Frederick Gonzalo, and on behalf of PAX Media, we welcome you to this new PAX Live series. We're going to be doing this for the next couple of Thursdays, at least until we're still all confined, and perhaps we will continue afterwards. We'll see where this leads. We're going to be doing the same on the PAX Nouvelle page in French later on today and doing a series there as well. But for today, we're going to kick off things with Ming Tappan. Ming, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? You're a cruise coach, as we see here in your title, but what it is that you do, where you're coming from?
Okay, sure. Well, my name is Ming Tappan, and I'm the owner of Your Cruise Coach. I have been in the cruise industry for 26 years. I started off as a cruise travel agent, selling cruises, and then I transitioned and worked through various travel agencies, cruise only and also full service agencies, helping them promote their cruising to their clients. And I did a lot of stuff like group management and training and promotions. And then 5 years ago, I created Your Cruise Coach and I became a cruise travel writer. I freelance. I do freelance and contribute to PAX magazine regularly. And then I also now work with other consumer media to freelance writing about cruising and also with cruise lines and travel agencies as well on special projects.
Excellent. So we got a couple topics we want to discuss today. Before, though, I just want to make sure we're clear. People can see my title. For those who don't know me, frederickgonzalo.com is my website. I specialize in everything related to digital marketing. I also sign different articles on the PAX magazine for the last couple of years. And you, Ming, you deal with cruise travel, but by no means are we, we're going to share and have a conversation, but we won't have all the answers to all the questions that may be out there. And I do ask people to ask their questions and get the comments going. But a preamble is we're going to do our best to try to address some of the issues and concerns and get the conversation going with what's next in this industry, right? So,
Right.
Okay, Ming. So before we go into what's next, and that's the title for the conversation today, is how and when will we start traveling again with cruises, and what's been how's the situation right now? I mean, how's the past 5 or 6 weeks been? What's your take on the industry right now before we sort of go into what it's going to be next? Do you think they got more slack, more abuse with this industry, or basically we're like anything else?
Yeah, definitely our cruise industry and travel in general has just been in such bad light over the last few weeks because of the pandemic. Cruising definitely got beaten up, if I can use that word, for sure, because of all the news that we've seen on the television, on social media, of the ships with people being ill and not being mitigated home. That's definitely unprecedented. We've never seen this before. So right now, everyone's very concerned, especially cruising has been put in such a big spotlight. So definitely.
And I think there's a couple of questions that rise from that. And I know we spoke before today to sort of prepare a little bit. And one question that I certainly had was, is the cruise business worse in terms of health? And we're seeing there's been a lot of slack about, oh, geez, who's going to want to travel by cruise nowadays because it's worse there than it's actually in resorts or in other places. Is that an urban legend, or what's the scoop on this?
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because and I think a lot of people, or maybe travel advisors, and certainly the public may not know this, is that the cruise industry is the only travel segment that has to send a mandatory report to the CDC if a certain number of passengers and crew on board is sick with an illness or anything. It's a virus or whatever it is. So if, let's say, a ship carries 1,000 people, guests and crew, and 20 people fall ill to a virus or any type of illness, by law, they have to send in a report to the CDC saying that we have X number of people ill on board the ship, and then it gets recorded and it gets tracked. Now, it's the only travel segment that I know of that has to do this. Airlines don't do this. Hotels, resorts, train travel, coach travels, they don't do this. So yes, you can get sick all other ways, right? As we know with COVID-19, it's spread all different ways, but none of the other travel modes are tracked. So the cruise lines tend to be in the spotlight because they are tracked and they send in the report. So it's unfortunate that way, but that's what the reality is. And I think a lot of people don't know that, and they think, oh, people only get sick on ships, because that's all I ever hear about.
Yeah, and I think this will be part of the challenge that both the cruise line, but also the travel advisors out there will have to make sure they convey that, because you're right. I mean, I did not know that before we spoke together. And I spoke to a friend recently in January who was in a resort in Europe that I will not name the company, but many people fell ill because probably at the buffet some virus was going on. It was not, the coronavirus. It was probably just your common flu or something else. But a lot of people got sick. But that doesn't get reported. And we see that often down south as well, in different Caribbean areas. It'll happen, for some reason or another. But you strike a good point that with the CDC, the cruise lines are required, right, to report as soon as they're 2% or more.
That's right. And for any travel advisors interested, you can Google, or I think it's cdc.gov, and look up the vessel sanitation program, and there will be some information about that. So they can have a look and read up on the procedure protocols and things like that. And then that's a point of education too, that they can talk to their clients about going on a cruise if that's what they bring up, saying that people are always getting sick on the ships. And well, now you have an explanation, a little bit better one anyways.
All right, so that's certainly a concern, and it'll keep being a concern. But I think we'll have to work with that, and I think the travel advisors will have to work with that. Now, the question, of course, that begs to be answered here is, when will cruise business ramp up or come back again? And I know you're not, a fortune teller, but I mean, what do you see, or how do you see things unfolding moving forward from now on?
Yeah, I definitely wish I had a crystal ball. We all hope, we all wish we do. It is a very tough question to answer at this point, because things are still changing. I mean, every day we're still seeing all around the world new cases and deaths from COVID-19 still happening. So it's right now more than just flattening the curve. Like, we need this virus to go away, subside, and before anything could really come back in full force. Now, in Canada, we already know that our Alaska cruise season has been delayed until the end of June. So that's for sure. And then also in the Arctic, which generally has a cruise season throughout the whole summer, in Canada, that's been already canceled altogether. So we know those two for sure. And also, too, there's other factors involved. I mean, most people have to take a flight to get to a cruise ship. So until the airlines are back in the air again in full force, flying internationally or flying to the States, we have to wait for that. So while I'm, really hopeful that maybe in 3 or 4 months I'm also reading in the travel industry, from business analysts saying that it could be this fall or even over the winter. It's really hard to say.
Yeah, it's hard to say from that standpoint. And actually, a question here from Kim, which I'm going to bring up here. Kim Cable asking us, do you think cruise lines will go back to smaller ships, or small ship cruise lines will become more popular?
That's a good question. Well, I know the reason why cruise ships have big ships, cruise lines build big ships. It's because they are trying to bring non-cruisers on board by offering them a variety of things to do and amenities and services. So, and I know, and that's of course, it's economical for them, of course, to build a big ship and have more people go on board and spend money, etc. So those I think will continue going on for sure. Small ships definitely have the advantage of less capacity, less passengers, and therefore maybe less chance of illnesses and things like that. And that appeals certainly to a different type of market, though. So advisors should definitely talk to their clients about both options. And it's also good to tell people that small ships exist. A lot of people think that all cruise ships carry 6,000 people. And that's one of the reasons why people don't want to go on a cruise, because they think, I don't want to be on board a ship with 6,000 other people. I'd be cramped, whatever. But did you know there are ships that only carry 100 or 200 or 600 or 900? So to answer your question, yes, both of those will still continue to go on. But also know that the cruise lines are now working harder than ever to come up with better protocols, better programs to ensure the sanitation now more than ever is going to get even better and better and better.
And this segues perfectly into the next question I had for you, because we're talking about smaller ships or bigger ships. Who do you think will be the folks to take cruises altogether moving forward? Like, who would be the first to cruise? I think the loyal ones, the new ones. I mean, there's different clienteles out there.
Okay, well, definitely, without a doubt, the experienced cruisers will come back first because they've already done cruising. They already know the value of a cruise. They already enjoy it themselves because they were repeat customers. So, and they have a better understanding of what's happening out there. Has been unprecedented, and it's not something that happens all the time. So I think they will be very open and very eager to come back to cruising as soon as everything comes back to normal. Now that only accounts for about 15% of the North American population, though. The other 85 are non-cruisers. So those are the ones that are going to be really hard to convince to step on board the ship for the first time, because they already have their own reasons why they don't want to go on a cruise in the first place. And now with seeing all that stuff happening out there, it gives them another objection that they or our travel advisors have to overcome to bring them on board.
And I got a comment here from Sandra, and I can bring it up because it segues into the next question I had for you. Here, Sandra asks, she makes a comment, actually. She says, on April 4th, the CDC issued a statement that people should not cruise at all, especially seniors. And I do believe this is probably a short-term advisory, which makes sense in the context that we still need to flatten the curve, and it's not required. But assuming, right, that the statement in a couple of weeks, that things go back to quote unquote normal, whatever normal means. What do you think the challenges are? So the folks who are listening right now, they're travel agents or working travel agencies. What are the challenges moving forward for selling cruises? If we were to look, let's say for the fall, or even for 2021, how can we address it? What would be the things that need to be addressed? Where do you prepare yourself?
Okay, well, to bring people back on cruising or to bring new people onto cruising, we definitely have to address what's happened in the last few weeks. No doubt about it. We can't ignore that. We have to acknowledge that. So travel advisors need to be confident in terms of what happened is truly unprecedented. I mean, you can ask anyone in the travel industry who's been around 20, 30 years or more. They'll tell you they've never seen anything like this. I mean, have we ever stopped cruising for a given period of time? No, maybe one ship has gone out of service in the past because of a virus, but not in the entire industry. So that's definitely unprecedented. And I think that's the first thing we need to get wrapped in our minds, is that Things will get better. This was bad, but going forward, we need to be confident, knowing that, as I mentioned, the cruise lines are working as hard as they can right now to develop better programs, better protocols to provide an amazing service and experience. So we need to go in, with that in mind, first of all, and then also, reinforce the value of cruising, the positive benefits. I mean, you're going on this wonderful vacation and island hop and see different countries all on one trip at an amazing value. I mean, you pay a price, you get all your accommodations, your meals, entertainment, services, everything included. And cruising still gets the highest satisfaction rate of all other vacations. And these are the things we need to focus on to really be positive and confident to go forward. And that's the way we should be talking to our clients.
Yeah, and I was talking earlier this week with an event planner who, of course, they're hit just as hard. And one of the things she was seeing for the fall or for 2021 was some convention bureaus and whatnot, or Congress halls, sort of banking on amenities and different ways of doing things. For example, everything that relates to F&B, like food and beverage. I mean, buffets may not, I think there's going to be a lot of questioning on, well, do we still do buffets or how do we do differently? Is it going to be just sit down, safe space? So do we have more, the social distancing is not going to be going away anytime soon. So are you hearing anything with this regards that some cruise lines are already sort of looking into mitigating, at least for a short to mid-term period, to help at least get people to say, well, you know what, I might take that trip because I'm seeing that there's these actions taking place?
Yeah, definitely. Well, the cruise lines have always been very vigilant at sanitation on board. I mean, every time I'm on the ship or when I do a ship inspection, and I'm sure travel advisors who cruise have noticed this, there's always crew members wiping down railings and doorknobs and elevator buttons. And when you go into the buffet or the restaurant, there's always crew members standing out there with their little hand sprays, sanitize, washy, right? So that happens all the time, and it will definitely continue to be that way and even ramping up. We're thinking maybe like in the buffets where you would serve yourself, and in certain times I have seen that the staff would actually serve you, in terms of putting the food on your plate as opposed to you handling all the ladles and stuff. So I can see that happening. And people, now that we're practicing social distancing, it's probably going to come natural to us now after a while that they will be mindful of that being on board a ship, and they'll keep their distance maybe, slightly. And it's really hard to say, but I think definitely cruise lines are already working really hard. And I know during this time, while their ships aren't sailing, they are definitely going to work on some new stuff that we'll see coming up.
Yeah, we look forward to that. We've got a couple of other questions and comments here. A cute one here. I'm just going to say, Sabrina Greca is saying, we love you, Ming Tappan. So there you go.
Aw, Sabrina.
The message just, there you go. Now we have here Tony Santelli. It's a very lengthy one, so I'm going to put it up front here so everyone can see it. He says, in my opinion, we need to wait until an instant test can become available. Cruise lines will have tested all their crews, and as a customer check-in, they will be tested. If tested positive, they will be refused boarding and obtain a full refund. Those that test negative will be accepted. At the destination, only official excursions will be allowed, or private island stops will be okay. I am booked for an October sailing from NYC, and I'm doubtful that this cruise will sail. If I can relate this to 911, even after the airlines resumed flying, the client was still hesitant to travel. The winter season following 911 was very low. So it's not a question per se, it's a comment, but does it resonate with you, Ming?
Yeah, well, definitely. There's a lot of nervous people out there right now. All the travel agent partner friends that I've talked to are saying, their clients are canceling all their cruises, not just obviously from the canceled sailings that the cruise lines have suspended, but also going forward in the fall and in the winter and even next year, people are thinking of canceling because they're just so nervous right now. And it's absolutely agreeable. I would feel the same way. And I have my own friends who have cruises booked later in the year, and they're deciding they're probably not going to go. So that's the reality we're facing, unfortunately, in the short term, and hopefully not too long. But if we look back to all the previous years and all the incidents that we've had, 9/11 definitely, right? Like that was again an unprecedented event. But then after that, we had the viruses. We had SARS, we have H1N1, Zika, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had cruise ship fires. We even had a ship that sunk, unfortunately, and people died. And we thought, oh my gosh, no one's gonna cruise again. But if we go back to all of those incidents, people did cruise again. It didn't come back right away, so that's the thing we have to face. But it will come back, and I'm very confident that we're gonna be strong going forward. And that's a message that all the cruise lines are giving, and all of our travel partners are also hoping to.
Yeah. Now, I do remind everyone listening, your questions and comments are welcome, so let us know. I've got one, because when we spoke earlier, you sort of came up with a four-prong approach to basically what travel agents can do right now, because there's a lot of us out there that are at standstill, as Tony mentioned. We're not, it may be in the fall. So what should agents do right now to perhaps get ready, because there will be a moment, as you said, that we will travel again. We need to get ready for that, and we're not going to wait for the day before. So what can travel agents do right now to get ready for that post-crisis situation, whenever that may be?
Well, yeah, we certainly have a lot of downtime right now with, we can't go outside or whatever. So definitely the one of the most important things is educate yourself. About the cruise lines. I mean, I see every day there's cruise lines webinars that are happening. Now, cruise lines also have their online training programs that you can do. It's self-paced. You go online and you work through the modules and you learn about the cruise line. So definitely, and there's so many cruise lines out there that everyone is different and everyone may attract a different clientele demographic. So know the differences between them, educate yourself, and arm yourself with that knowledge. So when you're going back to selling again, you are already efficient at doing that. Secondly, stay connected with the cruise industry. Catch up on the news, watch what's happening, see what the cruise lines are doing, and look at the news releases. Cruise lines are very good at keeping us on top of all the news channels, as well as other, the media, of course. And also reach out to your BDMs. Like, that's such an important thing. They're already told you so many times on all the videos I've seen that we're here for you, we're here to support you, we're going to come back strong. They have a wealth of information about their own brands, but they can also give you tips on selling, maybe overcoming some of these challenges, and how to approach cruising again, more than that what you and I can offer, obviously, because they're the professionals. So stay in touch with them, and then also stay in touch with your clients. Call them up, or since we can't see them, call them up, text them, message them, WhatsApp, whatever, and just say hi. How are you doing during this time? Obviously, don't try to sell them anything right now. Just be a friend and reach out, and maybe even talk about what happened in the last 3 weeks. Shed some light in the situation. Maybe if you learned about the CDC thing through this conversation, talk about that. Alleviate some of their fears, because at the end of the day, our clients are looking at us or travel professionals to guide them, to counsel them. So we need to be there for them and just tell them, we're here and let's talk about whatever. And then eventually when things come back, you want them to be, you're the one on top of their mind. So when things come back, they'll be ready to travel. And then, I'm going to call Susan or Michael that I talked to, because they've been around while I'm sitting around doing nothing. They've been a friend and building relationships. For sure.
And what you touched upon there is super important, because I was conducting a webinar 2 weeks ago in French, and it was about travel marketing in this time of crisis. And the question I received the most, and I'm probably some folks are having this question right now, is, well, should you still post on Instagram and Facebook or send out newsletters? And a lot of people think, no, this is just a time to quiet time, stay home. And that's a bit of a mistake, because you may post less often. You still want to be there, because as you just said, you want to, you're attending a webinar, you're staying on top of things for you, the client, because I want to be with you later on. So you want to be there as you said, as a human. It could be a phone call, it could be anything else. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think the travel professionals have been doing an incredible job over the past 6-7 weeks. I mean, of course, the last 3-4 weeks we've been giving kudos to the health professionals, deservingly so, of course, because they're the ones leading the battle for life and death, literally. But a couple of weeks before that, it was all the travel professionals who were getting people back from wherever they were traveling, and a lot of it was volunteering because at the end of the day, is getting all these people back, not getting their commissions, and we're not going to get into that conversation today. But definitely, I think the human side needs to come out when people. So that's what you're saying. Stay out there, communicate with the folks. The human side needs to be out there, especially in this time where we need to know that everything will get better, right?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely encourage everyone to continue posting social media, talking about travel. Be careful. Don't send deals. Don't send, book now, whatever. Just talk about travel in general. I've seen a lot of Facebook posts with people, posting, where am I dreaming to go next? And they're posting pictures of destinations, right? And islands or maybe cruises. Post those things and inspire people, because people need inspiration right now. They can't go anywhere and they're itching to travel. And that's a great way to stay in touch with them. You're not selling them travel. You're just suggesting and inspiring them. And for my downtime, one of the things I started doing is I started a quiz on Facebook and LinkedIn called "What Ship Is This?" So every day I'll post a quiz about cruising or a cruise ship or a cruise line, and ask people with some pictures and ask people to answer. And it's a fun thing, right? Like it could be as little as that, and it keeps people engaged and it keeps people thinking about cruising. And eventually, when this goes away, like I said, you want them to remember who you are, and you want them to be calling you.
Yeah, just basically staying top of mind, right? And I think Ria here made a comment to that effect. Basically, she's saying clients are interested in rebooking their canceled cruises, especially the river cruises for 2021. So no hard sell, but you can offer to check availability. You're there for them. So I think this is Ria's comment. I think basically echoes what we're saying. I had one last question. I think after that, we're nearing the 30-minute mark, which is what we had as a target. So as you can see, this is flowing along pretty well. A lot of questions, comments. Thank you all for that. Sue asked, I'm going to put it up here, do you think the more exotic cruises, such as the ones going to South America, will take longer to recover? What do you think, Ming?
Well, yeah, because what happened recently, the ships that can't come home, is because they were all cruising in very remote regions, and those ports closed almost like with a knee-jerk reaction. They were closing ports without even maybe very few cases happening in their countries, but they were closing ports and they were just being very scared. So that's certainly people might think about that a little bit. Maybe people might start cruising close to home first. Just like what happened in 9/11, people didn't want to fly, right? So all of a sudden we had all these cruises that were, out of Seattle to go to Alaska, and all the cruises from close to home within the United States, cruise ports started that growth. So I could probably see that might be true a little bit at the beginning. People might be a little weary, and then so they might end up maybe going on more Caribbean cruises or going to more Alaska cruises or Mexican Riviera and things like that. But the diehards, if that's on their bucket list and they want to go, and like I said, these are people who understand the concept of cruising and they understand what's going on, they will go on these trips. So don't just assume that, I would say. And that's another good reason to get to know your clients and build that relationship, because the more you know about them and you learn about their personality, then you'll know which ones are the ones that you can approach with something like that.
Ming, this was a lovely conversation. If people want to know a bit more about you, you have a website or email address that they should get a hold of you?
I sure do. I have my website called yourcruisecoach.com. And you can also reach me at Ming, that's MING, at yourcruisecoach.com. It's nice and easy. I'm also on Facebook. Just look me up, Ming Tappan. And if you have the invite, you would have seen my name, the spelling and everything. And also I'm on LinkedIn as well if you want to follow me. I post a lot of industry news and my thoughts and things like that. So absolutely, I welcome any comments and suggestions that you may have.
Well, this was a great way to kickstart this first of a series of PAX Live that we will be doing. So next Thursday, there will be another one. We will be confirming guests, the exact time. So stay tuned. Look at the information on PAX News, the site, the Facebook page, and everywhere else. So again, Ming, thank you for today. And folks, Catch you later.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Bye.